Thank you for joining us on NewsNation Rush Hour. I'm Kelsey Kernstein, filling in for Nichole Berlie. Right now, we are learning new details about 3 Americans who are missing after traveling overseas to fight for Ukraine. 2 military veterans, Alex Drueke and Andy Wynn, are reportedly being held by Russian forces. And the family of former Marine Captain Grady Kerpasi believes he's being held in a Russian prison. The Kremlin announced today the Americans were mercenaries and engaged in illegal activities. They had shot at Russian servicemen and put their lives in danger. The Kremlin says they should take responsibility for their crimes. The war in Ukraine is far from over. Shelling started this fire here on your screen at a factory in Kharkiv today. No casualties were reported. Meantime, emergency crews working to evacuate residents in the village in eastern Ukraine. Houses are destroyed in this area. There's no water, electricity, gas, or food in the village. But Ukraine may get some help. A U.S. company is helping Ukraine modernize its air defense system to create their own version of Israel's Iron Dome. The goal is to prevent Russian rockets from striking. Joining us now is Jason Beardsley, National Executive Director with the Association of the U.S. Navy. Jason, thank you so much for being with us. Well, the administration has been pretty tight-lipped, only saying they don't know where the missing Americans are and that Americans shouldn't go to Ukraine. Why isn't there some big type of push to get them back?
Well, it was pretty clear from President Biden from the outset that the United States government did not want to underwrite or somehow subsidize or give impetus for people to travel from the United States to Ukraine. And then when he came out recently, what his statement was do not travel. What that means is the United States government is attempting to say, if you do this, you have to be sober-minded and clear about it, because the United States government is not going to be able to effect any sort of rescue or negotiation. This is an ongoing war between 2 states, Ukraine, of course, and Russia. And then you have proxy forces like the DNR, the Donetsk People's sort of Republic, or those who represent a proxy that are actually the ones that are holding the American citizens. And so they will become part of a later negotiation. But the United States does not have representation in these proxy areas. So that's a very dangerous prospect. The U.S. is right to warn people about it. I know Americans that have gone. There are plenty of people that have the impetus to do it, but you have to do it knowing how dangerous the risks are.
But if you look at, certain people like Trevor Reed, Brittany Griner, and others, there's been a lot of help from the administration in getting them back. So why is this not happening in this situation?
Well, again, this comes down to a little bit of what is traditional diplomacy requires having ongoing ability to discuss things with the nation in question. In this case, it's in the middle of Ukraine, or the eastern part in the Donbas region, which is governed by what are called proxy forces. They are not an officially recognized government. The United States doesn't have diplomatic representation with DNR or LNR, so there is no real means to do this, for one. Number 2, the hostilities are ongoing, so our diplomatic relations with Russia are strained. So it makes that job very difficult, which is, again, one of the reasons why United States citizens that are undertaking these endeavors have got to know. It's very clear, if you served in the U.S. military, that when you step out of our uniform and you go to take up arms for another people's, that you are doing this at a high risk, because we don't have Geneva Convention rules. And even if we did, we're talking about Russia here. So there's a real question about what the end state will be. But I believe that Russia will use these Americans to help negotiate a better position for themselves later.
Okay, well, a new report suggests that Ukraine is building a missile defense system called an Iron Dome. Can you kind of explain what that is, break it down for us?
Sure. Yeah. And this is a company that's sort of already embedded in Ukraine with computers that monitor the skies for inbound missiles or aircraft or things like that, and then collate that information and report it to a central air command for Ukraine. The faster the computers and the better at calculating where those missiles are, the quicker ground-based anti-missile systems can send up other missiles to intercept or detonate those before they harm civilians. So part of the push with the Iron Dome involves IT companies and software companies that are engineering an architecture that will upgrade and modernize Ukraine's computers that are currently working so they can work a little bit faster. That's going to provide some safety, but it is difficult to do that in the middle of a conflict. So these things are sort of ongoing. They take a little while, and the real key for Ukraine is they've got to get creative on the ground. We're entering a dangerous phase in this conflict, and Ukraine has some challenges that are bigger than this in front of them. But this is a good system. It's just a little late to kind of employ it while we're in the middle of this fight.
Jason, one last quick question. Who is paying for this?
So this is funded out of a San Francisco IT-based company partially, and then some other companies that are involved in a joint venture, Japanese software, plus the Ukrainians on the ground. So it's being funded by a number of venture capitalist type people that have defense industry in mind.
Private companies. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.